afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another semester of Sports Zone. We're so excited to be back into the studio, excited to be talking sports again, but I'm even more excited to introduce some new analysts to y'all. Here talking Dallas Stars with me is Zachary Axtell and Kevin Pacheco. Zach, what are you thinking going into the Stanley Cup Finals? It's not every day that happens for the Dallas Stars. What were your thoughts going into the series against the Golden Knights? Did you think that they were going to make it to this point, or did you think they were going to fall short?
I thought it was going to be a tough battle between the Golden Knights and the Stars no matter what. The Stars' offense had been faltering as of recently, but when they were on the back of Khudobin, they were just able to demolish the Knights. Like, they looked so good. And if they continue that play and Khudobin can keep doing what he does, there's no doubt that they can win the Stanley Cup Final.
Kevin, I'm going to throw it over to you now. Did you have the same thoughts as Zach? Did you think that they were going to fall short? Did they overcome your expectations? What's going through your head?
Let me tell you why the Stars are exactly where they should be. Mid-season, they lost their head coach, and their interim head coach just took them all the way to the playoffs, so they overcame that. And then round one against the Flames, they were down 2-1 in the series, and they were about to lose another game and be down 3-1 with 10 seconds left. Joe Pavelski hit the hat trick. They went to overtime. Klingberg finished it off, and they won in overtime. They won that series by winning like 5 games in a row, going into the Avalanche. And then against the Avalanche, they had a 3-1 lead. They blew it, and then they had the Game 7. And in overtime, Kiviranta came out of nowhere, just did like a hat trick. And they won that series as well and proved all the doubters wrong. And then against the Golden Knights, it was a defensive matchup, 2 powerhouses. You got their goalie for Vegas Golden Knights, and you got Anton Khudobin. They both went neck to neck. They're both spectacular goalies, but Khudobin just had the upper hand.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Zach, I'm going to ask you, they're either going to face the Lightning or the Islanders. Who do you think that the Dallas Stars have a better chance of beating to win the Stanley Cup?
I think they have a better chance of beating the Islanders, but I don't think they're going to play the Islanders. There's no doubt in my mind that they are going to play the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's going to be a tough series. But if Dallas can continue playing the defense they've been playing, and if they can keep capitalizing in the big moments like they have in this series, then I think they can win the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, personally, I think that the Stars are most powerful on their power plays. They're just a team that is able to produce out of those power plays. They don't sit back, they really attack on there. So Kevin, what do you think is going to be their biggest moment to win this Stanley Cup? Do you think it's going to be the power plays? Do you think it's going to be the defense? What do you think is going to be their biggest weapon?
No doubt what you're saying about the power plays, that's an accurate point, but I think the power play kill, they've been doing spectacular in that aspect. Against the Golden Knights, I think they only allowed like 2 goals or so, and I have no idea how many power plays they went against. But their defense has been looking spectacular. If they can get those power play kills and just right on the back of Anton Khudobin, they have a really good shot of winning it all.
All right, Zach, we mentioned our goalie. It's debated that we have the best goalie in the NHL. Can you talk a little bit about that? What are we thinking that he's going to bring to the table in this next series?
Speaking of the goalies, I think it's really interesting. So I was doing some research, and a lot of analysts had the Dallas Stars losing this series because of their goalie. With Bishop being out, they didn't think Khudobin could handle it, but he's proven everything wrong. He's going to be a big part to play in this next series because I think the Lightning are going to make it. So the Lightning's offense is just so high-powered. They're putting up points. The Islanders haven't looked great against them, but they're hot. And so I think Khudobin is really going to have to step up his game more so than he already has to allow them to win this series. It's going to be a tough one for him.
All right, last thing. I'm going to ask you first, Kevin. What are you thinking? Who do you got? You got Dallas, or let's say hypothetically they play the Lightning, because I agree with you, Zach. I think they're going to end up playing the Lightning. If it were to be Dallas and the Lightning, who you got winning the Stanley Cup?
I got the Dallas Stars in 5 games just because Jamie Benn being the captain and pumping up the team the way he's been playing in the playoffs, I feel like it's going to be too much for the Islanders. Plus, you got Anton Khudobin, who's really tough to score on. I know that Tampa Bay Lightning is a really good team, but I just got the Stars defense.
All right, and I agree with you. I love Jamie Benn. Like, how do you not love Jamie Benn? He's a fantastic captain, and I like what you said about him there. So, Zach, who do you got, hypothetically, Stars, Lightning, who you got winning the Stanley Cup?
I think it's going to go to a 7-game series, and since we're in Dallas, I'm going to go with the Stars.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. When we come back from this break, I have Terrence Williams and Brandon Brown here to talk Dallas Cowboys football with me. Stay tuned.
Jeff Foxworthy here. You know, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, thing is, there's a lot more to say. Like if you've ever found yourself burning yard debris and then walking away, well, you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
My son Andrew was always a joy to be around. I always taught him to be accepting of other people. That's why when Andrew was suddenly fired from his teaching job for being gay, my heart just broke. As a parent, how do you prepare your child for something like that? I hope we get to a place where people will be treated with respect, equality, and love.
Welcome back, everyone. I have two familiar faces in the studio here with me to talk Dallas Cowboys football. You know, they came out first game of the season and lost in LA. Terrence, if you could just give a broad recap of this game, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so my thoughts on the game were the Cowboys actually played pretty well, in my opinion. Besides the injuries of Blake Jarwin, who tore his ACL, he's going to be out for the season with that, and Leonard Van Rech, he messed up his collarbone again, so he's going to be out 6 weeks. But that's going to hurt them on their defensive side of the ball because, as people know, Stanley's still on the injured reserve list for another 2 weeks. But besides that, they lost 17-20. I think Dak Prescott played a really good game, in my opinion. He had a 64 completion rate. He had threw over for 266 yards. So I think they did well. I think Zeke played a good game as well. He had 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing with 96 yards. So I think there's room to improve. But besides that, they played really, really well, in my opinion.
All right, Brandon, I'm going to throw it to you. Thoughts on this game? Highs, lows, what are you thinking?
You know, I think the Cowboys came out really strong at first. Obviously, you know, there was some troubles, you know, with defense. Very much need some help with the defensive backs, you know, with the departure of Byron Jones and Jeff Heath. They really struggled throughout the game. And overall, as the game progressed and went into the fourth quarter, I just think that they let a winnable game kind of get away from them. And I know that the Los Angeles Rams wideout core is very deep, very talented, but, you know, I think their defense really choked the game for them.
All right, so Terrence, I'm going to throw it to you. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. Mike McCarthy is a new addition to his team. This was his first game with the Cowboys, and I have to tell you, it broke my heart a little bit to see him in some navy and white. But what were your thoughts on his first game with the Cowboys? What were some differences that you saw between Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy?
The one difference I could say is he's not scared to go for it, honestly. Even though it might have cost us a game at the end when we could have just kicked the field goal and just been tied, but he wanted to go for it. So I understand that. But for the most part, I see more of an offensive threat with this team. But at the same time, I'm seeing a little bit lacking with Mike McCarthy on the defense. Like, the defense gave up 425 yards, honestly. So they look like a more of an offensive team, but I think he can get it straightened out.
All right, Brandon, I'm going to throw it to you a little bit. He talked a little bit about Mike McCarthy and him going for it. Do you think that has to do with his previous job as the head coach as Green Bay? Green Bay was such a offensive team. They would take chances. They would throw the ball. I mean, you had Aaron Rodgers. When you have Aaron Rodgers like that, you go for it. So do you think that his philosophies are even going to fit this Dallas Cowboys team?
You know, I think Dak Prescott's a very talented quarterback and arguably a top 10, but at the end of the day, he's no Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like with Aaron Rodgers, you just had more of a creative playbook, you know, a lot more of interesting opportunities with him. I think Dak is very, like I said, talented, but is not quite that Aaron Rodgers skill to where I'm not sure going for it is really going to mesh that well in the locker room for this season.
All right, Terrence, he mentioned Dak. Let's talk a little bit about Dak. I am notorious in the studio for being a Dak hater in a sea of Dak lovers, all right? So I will debate with you until I'm blue in the face. And what are you thinking where do you think his head is with this game, right? Do you think he showed out and there's debate since his contract is still on the table? Like, where do you think he's going just from this first game?
Well, Dak actually had a pretty good game in my opinion. So with the offense not running as well that game, you could see he did do his part because, I mean, he had a 92.5 passing interference completion rate. But for the most part, he's going to be fine in my opinion. If we could get this O-line to protect him a little bit more, because if you can see all game long, the offensive line was just in his lap the entire game. Aaron Donald had 7 QB rushes with 1 sack. So if we could just give him a little bit of time and let these wide receivers open up, Dak Prescott's going to do some amazing things with these wide receivers.
All right, and there was a call. There was a call that was a bad call, right? So, Brandon, tell us a little bit about this call, and what are you thinking that the Dallas Cowboys history is with the refs? Because I always say the Cowboys are always going to have a problem with the refs. There's not going to be a season, if not a whole game that goes by, that they don't have a problem with the refs. So tell us a little bit about this call. Tell us a little bit about the refs.
Okay, so the call was an offensive pass interference call. I believe it was Michael Gallup on Jalen Ramsey. When I watched the play, I didn't see any pass interference. I just saw 2 players playing football, but, you know, this was at SoFi Stadium. This was at the Rams' home, so, you know, the refs are probably always going to be a little bit biased towards the Rams, but, you know, the Cowboys have had a unique history with this, and it'll be interesting to see if they encounter any other weird penalty calls like this down the road this season.
All right, Terrence, let's switch our gears. They have another game next weekend. What are you seeing in this preview?
I'm seeing an improvement in the offensive line because, honestly, Connor Williams, he had a really bad game in my opinion. Obviously, he was taking on one of the best defensive linemen in the league right now, but he needs to step it up. So I just see the offensive line getting better and the defense, the safeties and the secondary for overall with the rookie Trayvon Diggs. He just needs a little bit more help out there. So I see more helpful coverages coming in this next game, and honestly, they need more of a pass rush. But besides that, they can get the job done next week for sure.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Stay with us as when we come back, we'll be talking about the Texas Rangers.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie. Nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
Sometimes we can do things that exclude others. Still talking to your friends?
It's complicated. I think he went back in. We gotta go get him.
Welcome to Jumanji.
Even the smallest words and actions can have a big effect on someone. You have the skills. Because of you, someone's entire day, their year, or their life can change.
Remember, the future is in your hands.
Visit becauseofyou.org to learn more.
Totally, let's do it.
Azalea is my world. When I heard that she had a tumor, everything just became dark. When I came to St. Jude, I started to get back some light in my life.
On top of first class, best care, you will never receive a bill. So that you can zoom in and just focus on this child. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life, and it saved us as a family.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back, everyone. I have with me Sebastian Nava and Anthony George to talk a little bit about the Texas Rangers. Anthony, I'm going to start off with you. The Rangers season has not been going well, right? So we're just going to skip the rest of the season and switch to previewing this next season, all right? So what do you think happened, right? What do you think were the wrong steps of this season, and what do you think some right ones can be moving forward?
Well, when you look at it, you know, their pitching was just terrible, absolutely terrible. Kluber, which is their big free agent acquisition, goes down with a shoulder tear in his first start. Odor in 27 games only batting like 155. Gallo in 44 games is batting 192. It's just not really looking good. Outfielders have not been playing well, but really all it comes down to is the pitching has been absolutely terrible.
All right, Sebastian, I'm going to shift to you. They're in the hunt for a top draft pick, right? And they've just terrible, like in the words of George over here. So what do you think a positive outcome of this draft will be? What are some players to be on the lookout for?
I believe, the Rangers need to, of course, focus on pitching for the future. They have good players in the farm system like Josh Jung that they drafted a couple years ago out of Texas Tech. So if they can draft, like Jack Leader, who's already committed to Vanderbilt, or Christian Little out of St. Louis Christian High School over in St. Louis, Missouri. They have 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. They have good breaking balls. Christian Little has a good changeup, 92 miles an hour. So if they could just focus on those for the future, then they'll be really key for the Rangers.
All right, and the Rangers have this new, big, beautiful stadium, right? Well, we all know the way that picking up players, trading players, they get to pick where they want to play. So, George, I'm going to ask you this now. What do you think that the addition of this new stadium is going to bring regarding talent?
Yeah, I don't know how much talent's going to bring. This area just never seems to bring a lot of free agents, except for if you're part of the Cowboys. Just like you see the Mavs, they've never signed one big free agent. The Rangers have never really signed a big free agent, and the fact that their stadium looks like a frame broil grill, like it just doesn't really help. It's a nice stadium and all. It's a good hitter's park, but I really don't see them attracting a lot of free agents, especially with not a lot of good talent. Some guys that you could look at, especially pitching, you have Trevor Bauer and Marcus Stroman, and then you still have Kluber unless you disregard his team option currently. I don't think the Rangers can sign a lot of people unless they have a team ready to go for a championship, and I just don't see it. They're really going to have to build through prospects and the draft.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one because I don't think the stadium look is going to attract players. Because what's going to happen is, it's an indoor stadium, which means, you take away the heat. No more playing in 95-degree heat. And it being an indoor stadium, that's going to bring in pitchers. Because when you take away the dry heat, the ball travels less, which makes it harder for hitters to hit a home run. So if you put them in an indoor climate, that means it's easier for pitchers to give up less home runs, and it's easier for players to just play, without playing in 90-degree heat.
But there are also a bunch of players who actually like playing outdoors. There are tons and tons. You look at Seattle, Seattle when they got their big stadium, they lost a lot of their team, including one of their best players of all time, in the kid. So because he just hated playing in that indoor stadium and he wanted to go home to Cincinnati. Some players do not like playing in an indoor stadium, and I think that has something to do with it. Now, Texas is great because there's no state income tax, meaning that their games, they're not going to have to pay as much taxes on their income and game stuff. So that always is a plus. But I don't see Texas, especially while they're not contending, being able to attract a lot of free agents. And just last year, they locked Nick Castellanos to the Reds.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And for the record, I'm going to have to agree with Sebastian over here, right? I debated with a lot of people about it. The introduction of this new stadium, he's right. Pitchers don't want to play in the heat. Players don't want to play in the 99-degree Texas heat. Like, even whenever I go to a Rangers game, I'm like scoping out where I want to sit, where the sun is going to be at that time of the day, just so I'm not sweating. So we'll see what happens there. We'll follow up later on through the season. But thank you, gentlemen. Whenever we come back, we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs with Jocelyn and Courtney.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for 75 years, he's only said,
Only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like, if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
I call you and say, I'm with the IRS. You owe back taxes, and if you don't pay today, you're going to jail. You can fix this by sending cash. And you actually believe me? Too smart to fall for it? Well, last year, Americans paid $100 million to guys like me. 1 in 6 people were scammed. Can you believe it? Well, you shouldn't. I just made that up, too. You are a little gullible.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, man. Oh, sorry.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Welcome back, everyone. And to wrap up our show, we're going to be talking a little bit of NBA playoffs. Here with me, I have two wonderful ladies, Courtney Gilder and Jocelyn Lassiter. Courtney, I'm going to start off with you. You know, we've started the Eastern Finals. Let's talk about that a little bit. Celtics play Miami tonight. Who you got?
I think I'm going to go with the Fire Train with Jimmy Buckets, and I'm going with Miami Heat. I think that they were underdogs, and even though nobody has really talked about them this entire NBA season, I think that they have something to prove, and I think that they have a lot on their shoulders. They have a lot of versatility, and a lot of their key role players are underdogs and underestimated, and I think that the Celtics have the responsibility to kind of look at what they got.
All right, Jocelyn, I'm going to throw it over to you. Same question. Who you got? It's Celtics, Miami in the East.
Well, for this series, I'll have to say I will go with the Miami Heat.
With Miami Heat, of course, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Andre, you got Jay Crowder, and it's just those top two that have already experienced what it's like to go in and actually play within a series and then go to the finals and actually win the championship. I think the adrenaline's just there. The team is more veteranized, so it's all who wants it and who wants it more. So I definitely have the Heat.
All right, let's shift our view to the West a little bit. So the West is still, half of it is still undecided, right? The Lakers are in, but we're still waiting. It's Game 7 tonight between the Nugs and the Clippers. All right, so I'm going to ask you, Courtney, who you got tonight going up against the Lakers in the finals?
All right, I think I'm going to go with the Clippers. I know that a lot of people think that this is going to be a crazy decision considering this entire series and how the Clippers have kind of failed us really. But I think that when they work on the 3 C's, which is to me the communication, the consistency, and the chemistry is going to be a big part in how they close out the Game 7.
All right, I like how she mentioned chemistry because I'm going to shift, and I think that Denver has a better chemistry than the Clippers. And I'm a Mavs fan, so my heart's a little bit broken, Jocelyn. My heart's broken that the Clippers booted us out. So who do you have between Denver and LA?
Well, I have to agree with you. I'm definitely going to disagree with Courtney. I definitely have the Denver Nuggets as well because I feel like the Denver Nuggets is an underdog. Going in, you have to realize that, well, we don't know at this point if Jamal Murray is going to play due to his injury. But if he does, that could really make an outstanding impact on the outcome of the game in Game 7. And it's kind of tough. You know, your best player might not be playing, so it's like, where's the faith in the team? And like you said, Denver Nuggets definitely has a better chemistry than the Clippers because the Clippers apparently have been falling apart this series. I mean, this season in the post game. So I mean, I'm really going for the Nuggets. I know they could pull it through, and I will say it will be a difference if the Nuggets were to play the Lakers. It wouldn't be as a high anticipated as the Lakers and the Clippers, but I definitely think the Nuggets are going to give it all. And with them not having a championship, they have no choice but to leave it all on the court. So.
Okay, so I'm going to split the two of you. Courtney thinks that the Clippers are going to play the Lakers in the finals, and Jocelyn thinks that the Nuggets are going to play the Lakers. So, Courtney, let's start with you. What do you think that's going to look like between the Lakers and the Clippers?
Man, I think that the Lakers and the Clippers are going to live up to the hype. Although everybody thinks that, the Clippers may not be as good as the Denver Nuggets based on this series right now, but I think that they are humbled right now. I think that if they come out and they win this Game 7, they're going to be humbled. They're going to go back to the drawing board, and they're going to have to figure out the powers that be on the court. And I think that Kawhi Leonard is going to have to step up and be the leader. He's a leader on the court, but he's not the leader outside in the huddles and when they're down and when they need him the most to prove that their team to beat the Lakers.
All right, Jocelyn, let me throw it to you. You have the Nugs against the Lakers. Who do you have going forward?
Okay, even though I want the Nuggets to progress forward to play the Lakers, I definitely would have to say that the Lakers will probably end up winning because the Lakers, you have to realize, they went from a young team to a veteran team. Most of the people are veterans, so they know what it's like, they know what it takes, and they know they have that grittiness to sit there and, take their team to the championship. So it's kind of up and up. I mean, you never know. Underdogs do have known to come up under and actually give like the top dog, top favorite team a run for their money. So we'll have to see and see what happens.
Thanks for tuning in for our first week back on Sports Zone. Be sure to stay safe, stay home.